speaking of done, these teams are done as we continue our tour, going
D
into
dash.
the Lone Star State of Texas. The Houston Rockets.
H-Town.
They were talking cash money to the Golden State Warriors. Who was it? Tari Eason was out there talking trash to Draymond Green.
On the bench.
Draymond
Street
Green
clothes for
said,
sure.
I ain't worried about the Rockets. And I'll be damned if the Rockets lost like 4 games in a row, get their ass kicked by the Golden State Warriors, in which Tari Eason did not play. Jalen Green has cooled off since his fatherhood hot streak. And now the Houston Rockets are are eliminated from the playoffs. And so this week is Sheedy's turn to ask the question. So Sheedy, what is your question for us about those Houston Rockets?
Oh yeah, the Houston they flopped it, Flockets. So for Houston, my question that I posed to the guys, and I know we're a low budget podcast, so we didn't do any research or anything. But the question I posed to them is if this team is still intact and healthy, because let's be honest here, they are missing quite possibly the cornerstone franchise player with I'll be sure. But if this team is still intact, looking into the 2024 free agents, who would you pick to go with this team? It doesn't mean you go and get LeBron or KD. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be very strategic about who you plan to get and why. I don't care if the person has a player option, club option, whatever. Restricted free agent.
Read option.
As long as they're on that 2024 tracker as a free agent, so to speak, until other things change, this is as is. So this is also saying that they're bringing back Fred VanVleet. I think it might be Tari Eason actually, might also be closely in his contract. But anyways, team as intact. Who would you bring onto this Houston Rockets team that you believe pushes them, to your point, Savage, they're not going to be an 11th seed next year? Mm-hmm. Who can bring them into the top 10, maybe even a top 6 seed as a free agent, and you roll out the red carpet for? So I don't care who goes first, whether it's
I'll go first.
Or Savage. Okay, go ahead.
I'll go first. I'll bring in Podcast P. Give me Paul George. Easily. Give me a veteran, cool head, can show the guys how to be professionals. Can go get 30 if he needs to, can lock you up if he needs to, can run point guard. Because if you still get Fred VanVleet, he's a point guard, but he's really a small shooting guard. And so I can trust Paul George to run point. And I also want the residual effects of having Paul George next to Jalen Green. If Jalen Green still is going to be there next year, maybe Paul George can teach Jalen Green how to play defense a little bit better. If you got Al B. Sure, that's Alperen Sengun, for those who don't know who Al B. Sure is. If you got Sengun being Joker and continues to develop and get better, I mean, that's the wave of the future right now, is having your playmaking big man with your wing scorers, with your point guard. I'll take Paul George. I don't know if that's feasible, obviously, because they moving to LA, but those rumors got my antennas up. I'm like, hold on now. Paul George, the rumors are circling. And I feel like Paul George would be a sought-after player. Like, he still has basketball to be played for the next 3 to 4 years and still can be productive. And then I say, why not have a veteran-type player for the Houston Rockets? So give me Paul George.
I like that. I like that a lot. He was one of mine, actually, out of top 3 that I was doing for them, for the Rockets, and George was definitely 3. But I'm going to definitely go Klay Thompson. I'm going to go Klay Thompson here for the fact that if you look at the Rockets depth chart, they really don't have enough shooting on that team. So Klay Thompson, especially being on the court with VanVleet and Jalen Green, who went ham. And then you got Sengun coming back next season. Like, all you need is a knockdown shooter, and shoot. You're not going to even be in the play-in. Like, we'll be talking about middle seed as a Rocket. So Klay still, I guess, pretty good on defense. Not necessarily the great defensive player that he was, but he can still get you in, and you can have him come off the bench, but you can have him start. My thing is, I'm not sure what they do with Dillon Brooks, because I don't know if Dillon Brooks and Klay, will mesh together, but Klay will be a perfect fit. Another player I thought about was Jrue Holiday as well. So him and Klay were kind of tit for tat with me, but Jrue Holiday, veteran point guard. Of course, they got VanVleet, but you need somebody that can play some defense in the Western Conference. So Klay Thompson for sure, number 1, but Jrue Holiday too.
Yeah, I like everything that you guys have said. And I'm going to pivot a little bit more to a different person, even though Paul George, Clay, and Drew actually were good blocks and good picks for them, especially with their coach, with Ime. The person that I chose would actually be a reunion where him and Fred VanVleet. And I actually want this player to stay with Indiana, but I think he could go. Would be the Houston Rockets can get Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam, to your all's point, he's not really the shooter per se, in terms of he's not going to lock down threes or what have you. However, in a high-low option with I'll be sure, I've seen how that's worked well for the Nuggets, right? Aaron Gordon is not a knockdown shooter, but the high-low action that happens between the two of them provides a lot of instant offense for the Nuggets. And I think you can kind of get the same thing out of Pascal, put a little more weight on him. He's fine. Get some of that Houston food with him and everything like that. But I would love to see how Pascal can work out with them for a few years. And he's bringing championship mentality with Fred VanVleet. Unfortunately, Dillon Brooks is the only other person on that team that would have playoff experience per se to do something. So I think all of our options are really good. Houston, y'all might need to roll out the red carpet to bring somebody in sooner than later.
One thing about Houston that's like I'm curious to see how they navigate it is they have a lot of young players, and you don't have a lot of play time for everybody in terms of like you got Amen Thompson, you got Jalen Green, you got Cam Whitmore, you got Tari Eason, you got Jabari Smith Jr. So like a lot of these players, who else they got? Yeah, those are 5 guys. Like, and you got Fred VanVleet and you got Dillon Brooks. But it's like I feel like they're gonna have to move like 2 of those guys, those younger guys, in order to bring in a veteran to help contribute. Because I know they want to win. Udoka, he's gonna want to win next year, or like win more games at least. And so I'm even with our man supposed to come in as a point guard, and he's supposed to be starting. He's 6'7", he's athletic, he's defensive, like he's gonna be a good player. And I don't, again, with point guards, talked about it with Scoot Henderson. I give that man the keys to the offense, man. Like just let him figure it out. That's how I feel about most players anyway. But I feel like they're gonna limit him if you're gonna hold on to Fred VanVleet and these other ball dominant players. So in my opinion, it's kind of tough because like Jalen Green's ball dominant, Fred VanVleet is ball dominant. Dillon Brooks can be ball dominant, and it's like you draft.
Ain't no can be. Ain't no can be. Now chill. No. You ain't getting that one. Nah, you ain't getting that one. We synced it. Like nah.
Yeah, man. Like they're gonna have to figure it out. Like, and that's I guess that kind of gets to the next team down the road. We'll get there in a second, but like I want to see Houston commit to bringing in somebody that's a difference maker. Where was it at? Ryan talked about like Jaylen Brown again. If things fall apart for Boston, I doubt that happens in terms of like Boston's gonna make the finals. They better make the finals. That's how I feel. But like they had to bring in a player that's like I don't want to say franchise changing, but like a needle moving. I would say I don't know. Because you got so many young, I ain't mentioned Sengun with the young players. Like he gets the ball a lot. So you got 6 young players that need the ball in their hands, man. So you need some more specialists on your team that know their role. Like Klay Thompson actually is a great point for Houston. Like a player that just come in and set screens, get open, make a shot. Like that's all they need. They don't need any more ISO scorers. You got enough of them. You don't need no more of those players. So. Swing for the fences for Jaylen Brown. That makes the most sense to me. So, but yeah, Houston, they actually had a good year, man. I thought they were gonna be trash this year, but Udoka proved himself again to be a good coach. I think they just had a lot of young mistakes this year, while also having now one thing that will not be the same next year. Dillon Brooks not gonna be on a hot streak all damn year because that man was shooting about 50% from 3 for about half the damn season. That is an anomaly. I hope it's an anomaly because I'd be mad if I'm a Grizz fan and I see Dillon Brooks knocking down threes when he couldn't hit the ocean with a beach ball with Memphis. But I don't expect him to be knocking down shots like that next year. But if he is, then hey, just put your hands up, man. That's all you can say.
Put your hands up.
That's all you can say, man.
Yeah.
All right, going to the next team.
Yeah.
Utah Jazz.
Same question posed to the fellas, man.